A 32-year-old woman is crying in her car. She just got back from yet another disastrous first date. The man was polite, had a stable job, was kind. But she said she didn't feel that spark. This is the 10th time this year. Meanwhile, her ex-boyfriend, the one she dumped 3 years ago because she deserved more, is engaged. And she remains alone, blaming men for not being good enough. This scene is repeating itself in millions of homes at this very moment. It's not an isolated case. It's a silent epidemic that is destroying relationships before they even begin. And the scariest part is that most people haven't even realized the magnitude of the problem. Something is happening right now in our society that is turning millions of women into prisoners of their own expectations. They live in a bubble created by likes, filters, and modern fairy tale stories sold as reality. And when real life knocks on the door, the frustration is so intense that they'd rather blame the whole world than look inward. Let's talk about something few dare to say out loud. The fantasy of modern women is completely disconnected from reality. And this isn't just ruining relationships. It's destroying entire lives. The problem starts subtly. A girl grows up watching movies where the protagonist always wins the perfect prince. Tall, strong, rich, sensitive just enough, funny, protective, yet respectful of her space. He appears out of nowhere, solves all problems, and offers a dream life. She doesn't need to do anything except exist. Then comes social media. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Algorithms designed to be addictive and distort perception. Every photo is edited. Every moment staged. Every relationship looks perfect. And she believes that this is normal. That this is the standard. Then she creates a mental checklist. The man must be at least 6 feet tall. Must earn well. Must be confident but not arrogant. Must give attention but not be needy. Must be dominant but also feminist. Must read her mind and anticipate all her emotional needs without her having to say a word. And what does she offer in return? Often, just her presence. As if that were enough. As if being desired by others on social media automatically made her valuable in real life. The contradiction is glaring. She wants a traditional man who pays the bills, protects, and leads. But she also wants to be independent and need no one. She wants constant male attention but complains when she gets it. She posts provocative photos to get likes but is offended when men show interest. She says all men are the same, but she only attracts the same types. She completely ignores the nice, stable, interested guys. She goes after those who treat her with indifference. And when she gets hurt, she blames the entire male gender. The concept of reciprocity is dead. She demands loyalty but keeps conversations with several guys as backup. Demands honesty but omits parts of her own life. Demands effort but doesn't lift a finger to build anything together. And when the relationship doesn't work, it's never her fault. There's always a psychological term ready: gaslighting, love bombing, narcissism, emotional manipulation. Anything works to shift the responsibility. The saddest part is seeing 40-year-old women still living this illusion. They rejected good men in the past because they thought they deserved better. Now they are alone bitter, blaming a sexist society. But the truth nobody wants to hear is that they created their own hell. Social media feeds this daily. Every like is a dose of dopamine. Every flattering comment inflates the ego a little more. And this constant validation creates a false sense of value. She begins to believe she is truly special. That she deserves to be treated like a celebrity. But real life doesn't work that way. In the real world, relationships require effort, commitment, communication, and mutual sacrifice. They require you to let your guard down, be vulnerable, and work together with another person. And this is exactly what this generation doesn't know how to do. So they jump from relationship to relationship, always looking for something better, always dissatisfied, always thinking the next one will be different. And time keeps passing. Men of value get married. And they are left with the leftovers. The question nobody asks is, how long will this continue? How long will this collective delusion be fed? And more importantly, what will happen when reality finally comes due? If you are enjoying this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Also, leave in the comments which city or country you're watching from and what you think of this discussion. This helps the channel grow and bring more content like this to you. Because the truth is that this house of cards is about to collapse. And when it does, millions of people will wake up to a brutal reality they have been avoiding their entire lives. The question is, are you ready to see what comes next? The most frightening phenomenon happens when you look at the cold numbers. Studies show that the rate of female happiness has been plummeting in recent decades. Even with more freedom, more opportunities, and more resources than any previous generation. How is this possible? The answer lies in the invisible trap that has been created. The more options a person has, the harder it becomes to choose. And the more they compare, the less satisfied they are with any choice. This has a name: choice paralysis. And it is destroying the ability to form real bonds. In the past, a woman met men from her neighborhood, work, or church. Maybe 10 or 20 options in her entire life. She chose one, invested in it, and built something solid. Today, she has access to thousands of men at her fingertips. And this hasn't brought happiness. It has brought chronic anxiety. Because now she lives in constant fear of missing out on something better. She's dating a nice guy, but could there be someone more interesting in the next photo? He earns well, but that other one earns more. He's affectionate, but that other one seems more confident. Her mind never rests. And dating apps made everything exponentially worse. They turned human beings into shelf products. One swipe to the left, and you discard an entire person based on 2 seconds of judgment. It desensitizes, dehumanizes, makes everyone disposable. But here's the cruel detail nobody tells them. High-value men aren't on these apps looking for a wife. They're enjoying the endless buffet of options with no commitment. The really good, stable guys ready for serious relationships are already taken or meet women in other ways. So what's left are players. Manipulators. Those who know exactly what to say to get what they want. And women fall into the same trap every time because they confuse excitement with connection. They confuse drama with passion. They confuse emotional instability with intensity. Then comes another huge problem: the monetization of attention. Platforms like OnlyFans, Instagram, and TikTok have taught millions of women that their bodies are a financial asset. That sensuality generates money. That the more skin they show, the more followers they'll get. And it works. In the short term. She earns money, attention, and instant validation. But she pays a high invisible price. Because no quality man wants to build a family with someone who sells intimacy to strangers online. This isn't a moral judgment. It's a biological and social reality. She can scream that her body is hers and she can do whatever she wants. And she's right. It is hers. But the consequences are hers too. And the consequence is that serious men simply don't consider women like this for long-term relationships. They might have fun, but marriage? Kids? Introducing her to the family? Never. And then comes the revolt. She accuses men of being insecure, controlling, sexist. But the truth is simple: nobody wants to invest emotionally in someone who is constantly seeking external validation. It's unstable. It's risky. It's exhausting. Let's also talk about the distorted concept of independence. Being independent is wonderful. Having a career, your own money, and autonomy is essential. But at some point, it became synonymous with needing no one. Never showing vulnerability. Never asking for help. And relationships don't work that way. Intimacy requires vulnerability. Love requires interdependence. You need to trust the other person and let them take care of you sometimes. But this generation learned that this is weakness. That needing someone is pathetic. So they build impenetrable emotional walls. They constantly test men. They create mental games. They expect him to prove his value without ever showing their own. And when he gives up, they call him a coward. Here's another brutal contradiction. They want men to be emotionally open, but they lose attraction when they actually are. They ask him to open up, cry, show feelings. But when he does, something inside her dies. Because biologically, she's programmed to admire strength, not fragility. So the man is trapped in an impossible game. If he's too tough, she says he's insensitive. If he's too vulnerable, he loses her respect. There is no middle ground that satisfies because the expectations are contradictory by nature. Meanwhile, the very notion of femininity is under attack. Taking care of the house is oppression. Cooking for your husband is submission. Wanting children is lack of ambition. Being kind and nurturing is being a doormat. Everything that historically attracted quality men is now seen as weakness. And what's left? A generation of women who act like men, think like men, compete like men, but still want to be treated like women. Want chivalry without offering femininity. Want protection without offering support. Want to receive without giving. Men are noticing. And they're pulling away en masse. Not because they hate women, but because the risk is no longer worth the reward. Marriage has become Russian roulette. She could wake up one day bored, ask for a divorce, and take half of everything he built. Plus custody of the kids. Plus alimony. So they choose peace. They choose video games, hobbies, friends, and freedom. They choose not to participate in a game where the rules constantly change and they always lose. And this creates a vicious cycle where both sides become increasingly resentful and isolated. Now we reach the critical point. The moment when fantasy brutally and irreversibly meets reality. And this encounter is happening right now, in millions of lives simultaneously. Women in their mid-30s and 40s are waking up to a nightmare they themselves created. They spent their youth rejecting good men because they weren't perfect. They jumped from bed to bed thinking they were exploring freedom. They prioritized their careers, believing relationships could wait. And now biology is demanding the price. Fertility plummets. Options drastically decrease. Men their age want younger women. And they finally realize they were deceived. That the narrative sold to them was a lie. They were told they could have it all. A brilliant career, multiple relationships, endless fun, and then when ready, simply choose a man and have children. As if quality men were waiting in line. But they aren't. They moved on. Married women who valued family from the start. Built homes with partners who invested in the relationship instead of discarding it for any trivial reason. And the pain is unbearable. Seeing friends married, with children, building something real while she's still on apps trying to find someone worthwhile. Watching time slip through her fingers with nothing she can do. Realizing that past choices destroyed the future. Some become bitter. Begin to openly hate men. Call them all trash. Say relationships are prisons. Try to convince younger women to make the same mistakes. Because if they are unhappy, they want company in misery. Others panic. Lower all standards at once. Accept any man who comes along. Become desperate for validation. And inevitably choose wrong because decisions made out of desperation always end badly. The most tragic try freezing eggs and planning solo pregnancies. Because they were convinced they don't need a man for anything. That they can be both mother and father at the same time. But deep down they know they are raising a child fatherless in life. And yet they continue because admitting the mistake is too painful. Meanwhile, on social media, 20-year-old girls keep receiving the same lies. Influencers selling the illusion that they can live like men and still have traditional happy endings. The propaganda machine never stops. And the men? They are watching everything. Learning. The new generation of young men is far more skeptical than the previous one. They saw what happened to fathers, uncles, older brothers. Saw good men destroyed by divorce. Saw families torn apart. So they are creating protection strategies. Strict prenuptial contracts. Refusing to marry legally. Preferring relationships without official commitment. Not because they are bad, but because it's rational self-preservation. Women notice this and get furious. Accuse this generation of men of being afraid of commitment. Of being immature. Of not wanting to grow up. But they completely ignore that it was they and the previous generation who created this behavior. You cannot spend decades destroying men in family courts, taking their children, seizing their assets, and then expect the next generation to trust blindly. You cannot celebrate promiscuity, destroy men's reputations with false accusations, and then complain that they are cautious. The painful truth is that men learn quickly. And when they learn, they adapt. They are creating their own rules now. Focusing on building wealth, freedom, and peace. And leaving serious relationships for much later or simply avoiding them altogether. This creates a situation where everyone loses. Women don't find the men they want. Men don't trust available women. Birth rates plummet. Entire societies begin to age and shrink. And yet, denial continues. Yet, the same voices insist the problem is men. That they need to evolve. That they need to accept empowered women. But power without responsibility is tyranny. And no one wants to live under tyranny. What we are witnessing is the largest social experiment in human history failing in real time. Decades of social engineering trying to reprogram millennia-old biological instincts. And it is collapsing because you cannot deceive nature indefinitely. Women were taught to disdain what would naturally attract them to good relationships: femininity, cooperation, vulnerability, support. They were taught to value competition, aggressive independence, constant confrontation. And now they are alone, asking where all the good men are. They have always been there. But they were ignored, rejected, and ridiculed so many times that they simply stopped trying. And unlike women, men don't have a ticking biological clock. They can wait. They can focus on themselves for decades if necessary. So when they finally decide to marry, they choose younger women who haven't yet been completely corrupted by modern propaganda. Women who still value family. Who still understand that a relationship is a partnership, not a competition. And this leaves an entire generation of women in their 30s and 40s completely behind. Alone with their cats, their careers, and memories of all the good men they rejected. Waiting for a miracle that will never come. But not everything is lost. There is a way out of this maze of illusions. And it starts with something modern society hates: brutal truth and personal responsibility. The first thing that needs to happen is the complete destruction of the victim narrative. As long as women continue to believe they are passive victims of a sexist society, nothing will change. Because victims have no power. Victims just suffer and blame. The reality is that every woman has full agency over her life. Every bad choice she made was hers. Every man she rejected, every relationship she sabotaged, every impossible standard she maintained. It was all a conscious choice. And only by acknowledging this does she regain the power to change. Second step: complete digital detox. Get off social media, delete dating apps, stop consuming content that feeds fantasy. The mind needs to recalibrate to reality. It needs to relearn what is genuine value versus artificial value. Because as long as she lives in a world where 300 likes make her feel special, she will never value the dedicated attention of a real man. As long as she lives comparing her life to edited highlights of others, she will never appreciate what she has. Third, relearn authentic femininity. Not the weak, submissive version feminists invented to criticize, but the true feminine strength that has always moved the world. The ability to nurture, support, build together, bring peace instead of constant conflict. Quality men are attracted to women who add value to their lives, who make them want to be better, who create a welcoming home, not a battlefield. This is not oppression. It is smart partnership where both win. Fourth, develop real skills. Cooking is not oppression, it is care. Keeping a house organized is not submission, it is creating a healthy environment. Knowing how to listen without turning everything into competition is not weakness, it is emotional maturity. These are the things that really matter when building a life with someone. Not how many followers you have. Not how expensive your bag is. Not how many men you rejected to prove you are selective. Fifth, accept that time is finite. Biology doesn't negotiate. If you want children, you need to act now. If you want a serious relationship, you need to stop treating men as disposable options. Every year that passes reduces your chances exponentially. This isn't to scare you. It's to wake you up. Because it's better to wake up at 30 than 45 when there's no turning back. Better to make hard changes now than live in regret forever. And for the men watching? The lesson is different but equally important. Not all women are lost in this illusion. There are those who woke up early, who value family, who understand real partnership. But you need to be selective. You need to have high standards and not lower them out of loneliness. A woman who respects you, adds peace to your life, and is a genuine partner is worth every effort. But one who brings only drama, demands, and competition is not worth a second of your time. Protect your wealth. Protect your peace of mind. Protect your energy. And when you find someone who genuinely deserves it, invest fully. Build something solid. But never out of desperation or social pressure. The final truth that nobody wants to accept is this: modern relationships fail because we tried to rewrite rules that worked for millennia. We wanted to believe we were smarter than all the accumulated ancestral wisdom. But we're not. We're just humans with deep biological instincts that don't change just because a generation decided they are outdated. And the more we fight against our nature, the unhappier we become. The solution is not going back to the 1950s. It's finding balance. It's honoring what really works while keeping legitimate advances in equality and respect. It's stopping seeing men and women as enemies and starting to see them as complementary. Couples that work aren't those where both are exactly the same. They are those where each brings different strengths that complement each other. Where there is genuine respect, not destructive competition. Where there is cooperation, not constant war. And this only happens when both sides stop believing in propaganda and start living in reality. When they stop demanding perfection and start valuing kindness, loyalty, and genuine effort. The dating market will correct itself. It always does. Those who insist on living in fantasy will pay the full price. Loneliness, regret, empty lives despite all the supposed freedom. But those who wake up in time, make the necessary changes, and have the courage to swim against the current of collective insanity, they will be rewarded. Real families. Genuine love. A meaningful legacy. The choice has always been yours. It always will be. You can continue blaming the world and waiting for it to change to fit your fantasy. Or you can wake up, accept reality, and build something true within it. Time is passing. For everyone. The question is, what will you do with the time you have left? If this content made you think differently, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Comment below where you're watching from and what you thought of this reflection. These difficult conversations need to happen. And you can be part of the change.